So we have a rusty Suzanne here. One sec. We have a rusty Suzanne here. But how could we be more selective about where we put the rust? This is all being procedurally done. But the rust kind of appears where it appears. We've got a little control over it, but not much. And the control we have is on this color ramp coming from the pointiness. Okay, so we have some control there. But suppose I don't want a completely kind of rusty object. I just want a patch somewhere. How can we do this? Well, the rest of this setup is going to remain the same. Okay, it's our rust material and our glossy material mixed. What we're actually relying on is this pointiness in the geometry node and the color ramp. And what this does, if we let's add another emission node here so we can see this again. Emission shader, which is there. So let's plug the output, the color, and let's plug that in. The output there. We can see what we got here is black and white. Basically, it's a black and white texture. Although it's generated, it's acting like a black and white texture. And this black and white texture, in essence, is a mask. It's the same way as you would use a mask in Photoshop or in GIMP or whatever, whereas black is hidden and white is shown. And all this is doing, okay, is it's taking out the highs and lows and making them either black or white, and obviously some shades of grey in between. Okay, so in this particular texture, the black would be the rust. The black would be the chrome, the shiny metal, and the white would be the rust. So when we use that as the factor in our mix shader, it's showing the chrome where the black would be and the rust where the white would be. So effectively, we could use a texture to do the same thing. Let me just reset this the way it was. Get rid of that. That's not the way it was. That goes into there, sorry. Get rid of that emission shader for a minute, so we're not complicating things. So effectively, we could use a texture to do the same thing. We could replace these two nodes with a texture. Right, okay, so let's do that. Well, to do that, first of all, we need to UV unwrap Suzanne. So let's go back into a solid view. Okay, let's go full screen here for a second. No, I don't want full screen. Let me collapse this a bit. You can see I've got a subsurf modifier on this. You can tell because of the way the geometry is way above. So for the moment, let me just mute that. Okay, and let me do a quick unwrap on Suzanne. So let's come down to no. There we go. Mark that as a scene. Okay, we'll come across the eyes a bit here, so let's mark that as a scene. Control E, mark scene. Let's cut the ears out. That's always fun. Actually, let's go around here like this. Cut the front of the ear out. Control E, mark that as a scene. Do the same on the other side. Where do we go? We went from there. mark that as a seam. Let's come around the back of the ear here. Mark that as a seam. Same one else, I'm not sure what that is there. Let's delete that. That's a mistake I made earlier. Where are we going? Coming around the back of the ear. Mark that as a seam. And that will probably do us. So pull across the UV editor here. UV image editor. Select all and unwrap. And yep, there we go. We got this unwrap as Suzanne. Alright, so let's create a new texture and let's call it mask, because that's effectively what it is. Don't need alpha on it. Okay. Now, what we were looking for were the black and the white areas to control where the rust and the shiny metal comes through. So we've already got black on our base texture. Let's go into a texture paint mode. Okay. Boom. Same missing data. Okay, let's add a paint slot. Diffuse. No, let's come out of that. Come out of our noise texture. Canvas image. Okay, we change that to image in the slots. And that canvas image should be our mask. There we go. Okay, so we come across the tools. We got our paintbrush, and we can use the text draw, and we can use the color as white as what it is. Okay, so say I just wanted somewhere around here a rust patch. Okay, I'm going to set that strength up more fully, so we got more white there. Okay, right, so let's bring this back into object mode, and we got our image here. Let us bring in a texture image, Shift A, texture, image texture. Let's get rid of that. Let's also bring that factor into there. Okay. We can add back our subsurf. Let's go into a render mode. And what's probably happening here is this image mask hasn't been saved. Oh, hang on, I haven't opened it here. So let's bring up the mask. And you can see here I've got this rust patch just where I want it. Let me turn off the background. The transparent might be easier to see. So we've got this image mask or this rust just where I want it in that area. Okay, it's looking kind of very heavy and detailed there, maybe more than what I wanted. So what I could do is come back into texture paint, and let's go back into Just seeing what the difference is here. And it's about to crash on. There we go. What I could do now is make this grayer. Not so much strength. And then just kind of soften this edge. So now let's go back into rendered view. And you can see we're getting this more of a transition where the grey area was rather than the black and the white. Okay, so we could kind of do this anywhere. If I wanted to add some, say, the top of the eyebrow, I could just kind of paint on there. Make that a bit whiter. So I'm getting more rust in the middle here. And see, I'm doing this almost in kind of real time now. So I could work my model that way. We could also do it the other way, whereas if we invert it, these outputs, so Shift A, let's add a color invert. And let's take the factor out of that. Bring it in from here. So effectively we're getting the smooth metal and the rest of it rusted away. We could use some texture cloning of cracks and things like that just to get pretty much whatever whatever we want. But that is the way we could be specific about where we want rust texture. But for now, I'm gonna set it back to the way it was because I kind of liked it. There we go. And there we go, using noise texture to create rust and also how to create it in random places.